Yes, you're back with the group chat and we are back in session again for another episode. I'm really looking forward to this one today. We are lucky to be joined by a very, very special artist from the city. He goes by the name of John Charles. John, how are you doing, fella? You good?
I'm good, mate. Thanks for having me on.
No worries. Thank you for coming down and making the time to sit with us. Before we kind of get into your background and the artwork you do, we normally like to kind of kick things off with a bit of an icebreaker, so to speak. So
here we go.
I pulled another one out because I like these just to kind of pick your brains and just see how different people think about certain situations. So this one, I don't know if any of you have ever watched the game show where you've got to evade the police for so long. It used to be on Channel 4 and going on the run.
A little bit.
Yeah. So that's basic. You never seen it?
I've seen some birds hiding in the bushes or sort of one point.
So essentially you get $100,000 if you can evade the police for X amount of days. Now they've got all CCTV, all the finest kind of spies or whatever they are to try and find you along your way, and you've got to plot your route from where they let you go to a final destination. If you get to the final destination point without being caught and you evade the police, you win $100,000. Okay. So that's the kind of the kickoff question for today, really. What would be your getting on the run tactics if you had to? What would you do? What would be your mode of transport? Where would you go? Where would you hide out? Would you put on any sort of disguises potentially, cosmetics or aesthetics to change the makeup?
I'd be fucked, me. I was thinking I wear nail varnish for starters, so he'd be just looking for that, wouldn't he? Tattoos. I don't move very gracefully. I think my missus is alpha. I said I move like a gorilla. That was in a wedding speech. I wouldn't last 2 minutes. I'd get nicked.
Do you not think though? Do you not think
awful? I can't walk through customs, me, without looking guilty. Just going on holiday. Just on the way to Benidorm like that. Oh, fucking hell. Done nothing, but straight away. I'd be ruining me.
I'd say I'd be fucked. Yeah, big curly hair, tattoos, you got to find a way in with the crowd. I try not to fit in with the crowd, so that in itself would be the challenge.
Well, I thought about this one quite at length sometimes, and there's been part of me that would literally go to an estate on London and just try and blend in with roadmen for a couple of days. Just because what people's what is it, their prejudices are. They wouldn't be able to tell one black lad from another.
Yeah, but so you'd end up getting dragged in on someone else's city and mistake you for someone else.
That's the only drawback. So in terms of my own personal safety, I'm maybe I wouldn't want to spend too long in the end. But I think you've got to probably think outside the box, as I say. I've seen people where they'll get bikes and they'll literally just go on all bike routes and they'll literally go off map, because as soon as you put on your phone and you use anything, or you use your credit card to pay for petrol, do you know where your last transaction was? Do you know what I mean?
See, that's me goose straight away, because I can't go anywhere without a sat-nav. I had to get here with a sat-nav. Oh, wow. From Highton to Parliament Street to sat-nav. Otherwise I wouldn't have got here. So, yeah, I'd be fucked.
So what, I'd throw on some scruffy old workie clothes and just bounce around. No one's stopping you if you look like a legit workie.
Yeah.
I'd just throw a hard ass on and I'd start walking.
But then how are you getting from Liverpool then, say, to your destination point in like Cambridge or somewhere, or anywhere down south? How are you navigating your way down there, thinking outside the box? Are you going to busk yourself for lifts?
You know what? This would be controversial. No, I was going to say just try and dress like a nonce, because the police never seem to be able to get there. That would be a good way. But I'm not too sure what they dress like, though. No, not like I knew what they were. I knew I'd lose it there.
Now, as I say, how would you then navigate yourself down south or anywhere like that if you had to get to another destination? You're going to busk yourself a lift?
I get a bike and just pedal.
Yeah.
Just pedal.
That's a long way to pedal, that.
Yeah, it is, but for $100,000.
That's what I'm saying. $100,000 at stake. I feel like
$100,000 someone's saying going a long bike ride for $100,000. I'm pedaling.
Yeah. And just going out into the sticks and just.
I'd do worse. I'd do worse than a long bike ride for $100,000.
Well, like what?
Not on the spot, me, but I'd do worse than that.
Yeah, for $100,000. There's a lot more I'd do for that.
Yeah. Well, I think you could go camping. I think if you ended up just being a bit of a traveller for a couple of days and just going from different campsites and stuff like that, you've got less chance of bumping into normal civilians.
Are you on the run?
No.
Because you sound pretty on the ball.
No, I think this is what I'm saying. I thought about it in the past and I think...
You've got time to think of this and we're on the squad.
For 100 grand, no, you're going to put some thought into it. You're not just going to like do the conventional things that are going to get you caught within 24 hours. Because don't forget, they can find where you are. But I've seen episodes where they find the person and then the person will literally be 200 metres away from them in a building, and they'll run out of the building and then they'll be back on the run again. So you could be literally that close. They've got to touch you and grab you and be caught before the game's over. So I'm like, that last little 100 metre dash, I'd be able to run away.
You say the touch, right? So is it literally like you're nicked, or have you got to grab you and keep hold you, you're allowed to fight back? No. So as soon as they're around you and you've surrounded you and you've grabbed you, I just said fight for it all. 100 grand.
So I just think, that'd be something different to do, do you know what I mean? As I say, if there's 100 grand up for grabs, definitely going to try the most to win that.
Yeah, and I think if you were on the spot, like, you'd be forced to really think outside of the box. You'd come up with something, desperation.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But I think if you can let us know what your escape routes would be, where you would go, what kind of tactics you'd deploy for 100 grand, let us know in the comments and we'll see who
it might become useful soon. By the end of this,
someone's going to be sat there like, well, what I do?
Yeah, there'll be a scouser in there. This is what I did. Most of them go over to Tenerife, don't they? Tenerife or Amsterdam when they're on the run. That's where they tend to go when they've done something they shouldn't have. But now, as I was saying, we are in the studio today with John, and again, a very local artist, but does some spectacular art pieces that I've noticed. They've been all over your Instagram. I know you've got a website and stuff. He was just going to explain to us, or just break it down for us, how you got into the kind of the artistry from your side of things.
It was a bit of a weird one. Like, so art has just been like a thing for me from a kid. So I was known, like, my mum and dad would buy me just like big, massive A1 sheet of paper, and I'd just be fine. I'd just draw on it for days, and that's all I'd do. I just love to draw constantly. And that was probably from, I can't, like, as young as I can remember, I've drawn.
So, like, when you say draw, though, like, was it like, I don't want to say self-taught, but like, have you always just had an eye to be able to just...
Yeah, so I've never been great to like create just a mad image out of my head, or like that type of artist. Yeah. But if you give me, I'd just be able to copy drawings, and I'd just draw everything that I've seen. I'd always just draw it. Like, Disney was my big thing as a kid.
Okay.
I'd just sit there drawing every Disney character possible. And that's what I did, like, for most of my childhood. But then I had a teacher in primary school, in my last year of primary school, and we're still in contact with her now. She's over in Shanghai. She's an art teacher over there now as well. And she just made art, like, incredible for me. There was every aspect of art she just brought into one. So my last year of primary school, I'd probably say that's when it really, really kicked off for me, loving it. And then senior school, that helps
when you've got a teacher that's supportive in that sense.
She was incredible, and she still is now. So we'll keep in touch, like, every few months. I'll get like a massive email off with what she's been up to. I'll go back with everything I've been up to. And so I'm 37 now. So my primary school teacher from when I was 10, and we're still in contact.
That's good going, yeah.
She's amazing. And then I went to seniors, and it was the only thing that I enjoyed in school, art. So, like, as soon as they turned around, they were like, you don't have to do French or RE if you don't want to.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm out of them.
Was you ever dissuaded from doing it because, like, at some point, those type of subjects, people like, you're not going to have a career in, or you're not going to make money off, so don't focus on it or anything like that?
Do you know what? Honestly, no. Not one. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that to me until more recently, in the past few years, is when that came about. So in school and that, I don't really think I had a clue what I wanted to do anyway. Yeah. I didn't know what path I wanted.
I don't think anyone does, really, did he?
It's
forced upon you, but...
It was just art. So, like, I swerved French and swerved RE, and I'd just go and sit outside the art class and just draw or paint. At that time, that's all I done.
Did you have, like, did you do, like, the history of art or anything like that? Like, any sort of, like, inspirations back then, like Van Goghs and all them, Picasso's, did they get you going, or was it just literally contemporary stuff that you...
Back then, there was I can't remember, I don't know why I can't remember anything like that in school, like, at all. Me art in school is a blur. I don't remember the teacher's name from senior school. I don't remember anything that he taught me, but I don't think I really had many influences either. I was just used to paint, and I just used to draw.
Yeah.
Now there's massive influences for me, especially like Van Gogh. without a doubt, like how often I'd sit there of a night just watching Van Gogh documentaries, just the same one over and over and over
just
and over
again.
again.
Just to learn something new as well.
Just upset. I love stuff like that. And you said Picasso, Jackson Pollock, stuff like. I think their lifestyle as well is what I was more interested in.
I was going to say,
than just the art.
Is Van Gogh's the one who cut his own ear off, isn't he?
Yeah.
So he was a little, even though he was a genius, people would say he was a little bit tapped.
And he was mad into his drinking, and Jackson Pollock, another one, he was like an alcoholic, weren't he, and all that. He was all like them backgrounds I loved when it comes to my artwork. But then when I finished school, I was 15, I got an A in my GCSE art, and I remember my art teacher saying to me, like, that wasn't good enough, that you should have got an A star. And I was like, fuck. But I didn't have any coursework either. Some little knobhead in our class put all glue in my coursework. Still know who he is as well. I haven't got him yet. But somebody put glue all over my coursework. So I could only get an A. I couldn't get the A star because of that.
So that was just an art test then? Was that just a test that you got?
So when you're doing your GCSE art, you're working on like a couple of pieces for the final. And there's a couple of pieces that I put in. I think one was like an astronaut. And I think there was a football player and a Michelangelo painting over the top or something mad like that. But all the coursework that you needed to build up throughout the last couple of years, honestly, someone just filled me the folds with glue and just ruined everything.
Bitter, spiteful kids. Kids are horrible though, aren't they? Yeah, kids were horrible back then, do you know what I mean? The things but you don't realise the impact that's going to have, because, as you say, like, they're the lessons that you actually gave a fuck about, essentially. Like, that is a big...
But after that, though, literally, I left school at 15, and then I went round a bend for like the next 10, 12 years. I didn't touch art again.
Really?
Because of that?
No, I just found ale. I found a love for it, like, and that it just took over everything for me. That it was like the day I left school. The next day, I got off the job working in Wembley Stadium behind the bar. I was 15, and I looked 15 as well, but I still got. It was like an agency, and they were like, "Yeah, come on, fuck it, come work with us." And it was like you'd serve a pint, you'd have a pint, and I just remember getting smashed. I think it was an Aerosmith concert, I think it was.
Okay, yeah.
And that was my newfound love then. I just got left after that.
And then how long did that take then? Because that can't be easy to just go from one to the other in terms of then putting the ale down. Do you... It
was ale and snorting coke. Yeah. Like massive, huge. Like from the age of 16, I started snorting then.
16,
yeah.
Young.
That's very young. So did that change your personality? Because did you not notice at that age or anything like that?
Do you know what? I think quite early on, I knew there was an issue. So I went to do like an engineering course, and that's when I started snorting. One of the nights out, I remember one of the lads, I was bladdered, and he went, "Yeah, I'll have a go around, just give me a little key." And I went, "Whoa," and that was it. I loved everyone then. I just remember that night telling everybody, with my best mate, "I love you, I love you."
Definitely had cocaine then.
It was the best, honestly. It was amazing. And I remember like the next day just being like a bag of shite, but it was literally off one key. But I remember thinking, even though it was like a bag of shite, I need to have a bash of that again. And then the following Friday, we'd go on a night out, and I was like, I'll have a 20 bag now instead. Oh. And then within, I'd say about a year, where you go from like having a little key of a night or a 20 bag and 3 for 50, or I'd be snorting like 250 quid easy on a night out. But that was like at the age of around 18, I was smashing it. But I loved it. But I enjoyed it back then. I don't condone it now.
In terms of then your progression and wanting to like better yourself, did you think that like held you back at that age? Or did you not see the negative effects or anything like that? I
didn't. I enjoyed the party. I enjoyed being the life and soul of the party as well. And you'd have like a million mates when you're snorting. Everybody wants to be your mate, especially if you're like me, when you're like, "Daddy, it's hard to be
feeding people."
Yeah. But then I got a job in the civil service, and I've told this story before. You have like a little cardboard calendar, and I remember thinking, I'm snorting a lot here, so I'd have like a little highlighter, and I'd mark on the days. I can't remember if it was a marked on the days yet when I snorted. And I think, let's see what this looks like. And by the end of the year, there was very, very few days where I hadn't snorted in the end.
Was you only taking coke then when you was partying, or did it creep into your daytimes and stuff like that?
It wasn't as bad. Like, it was more Friday, Saturday, Sundays, stuff like that. Or if I had a bevy, then I'd always snort without a doubt. It'd come hand in hand for me, that. But then later on, like my daughter was born, we got how old was we when we got together? 21, something like that. But I legged it to Kenya for a bit as well. I thought I need to get away from all this. So must have been 20, 21 then. And that's when I bailed. So I went and done like volunteer work over in Kenya to try and get away from.
What kind of volunteer work was you doing?
Just it was meant to be like working in an orphanage, but it wasn't an orphanage at all when we got there. Like you just had a mud hut to live in. That was it. Yeah. And then you'd go out to different communities and you'd work with like orphans and stuff, but you'd be like helping build like water wells and communities, building houses, mud huts with your feet. Because that's how you'd have to mix all the mud for it and everything. It was literally everything was fucking by hand.
Did that help you get back into art though in that trip when you were over there?
Yeah. So while I was over there, I was drawing a lot. Yeah. I've got like a couple of diaries, journals. What's the cool thing to say? None, is it? Just used to draw pictures. And I've got some belter pictures from while I was over there, just drawing all the time. So I could be sat out in like a village or something, and I'd just see like a tree with a little house or whatever, and I'd start drawing. So the love for art started coming back then, definitely. And
because I know some people, whenever they have like under the influences of either alcohol, weed, cocaine, they sometimes feel like they get more creative. Was that ever a factor for you as well?
I used to use that as well, though. I want to draw a portrait. I need to have a line. And that would be in my head. I'm like, if I have a stripe, I could draw a boss. And it did used to sometimes work, but I'd sit for like 10 hours drawing a portrait just so I could keep snorting. But that would be, I think later on in the drink and the drugs, that was like my little thing. It would be like, I'd draw if I could have a bevy and a line at the same time. Yeah. But the artwork still wasn't very good at that point, really, I don't think.
So how, I take it then you've cut that those type of habits out of your life now. Like what was the twilight moment or that light bulb moment for yourself that was like, yeah, I can't do this anymore?
Do you know what? I told this story as well, and somebody tried to take the piss out of me over it because I don't know if you've ever, like, if you read like the 12-step program and all stuff that, and people go on about you've got to make your rock bottom. But for me, and I'm glad I've got to say this on here now, because if other people are listening, like your rock bottom might not be like my rock bottom. Somebody else's could be like the worst thing in the world, but for you, it's like, that's not that bad. Yeah. But that's their rock bottom and it's not yours. So I'd gone through a lot. I'd lost my house. Well, I'd nearly lost my house. I'd lost my car. Me and Jen had split up. I had to move back in with my mum and dad. I'd only get to see the baby a couple of days a week because I was still using at the time. And I was working in town when I was on the doors. And it was on, I think it was called Zoo at the time, Slater Street. Yeah. And I was in there one night. And at the end of the night, you'd always be able to have like a quick bevy before you finished. One of the girls behind the bar, I said, give us a Sambuca. She looked at me like, what? Like anyone else is having a little bottle of Modelo or something, there's me nailing Sambucas. But I'd nailed about it. I think I'd nailed 18 grams of lemo that night while I was working. And I had my shots and she just said to me, you're a fucking disgrace, you. Oh, honest to God, it just, I don't know why, like, that hit me more than anything else. Just off air saying it. And I message her every year on my sobriety date and thank her for it as well. But that just seemed to, it just kicked me into touch. And the next day I went to Cocaine Anonymous again and I've been flying ever since then. So it'll be 10 years in May that I haven't snorted or drank for.
Really? Yeah.
And it was on the back of it was on the back of her saying that. And I remember my sponsor saying to me at one point, like, you know, if I put a bag of lemo in one hand here or your wife and your kids in the other hand, what are you going to choose? And I'd say, well, my wife and kid. And he's like, but you're not. You always chose the lemo all the time. And that was I don't know why, it was just the addict in me. I'd always go to the drugs. So I'd nearly lost everything, but it didn't matter. But for some reason or other, it took that girl that night to say to me, you're a fucking disgrace, for me to go, wow, yeah, I am. And then after that, that was it. It was like the biggest, I don't know if it's like an ego thing. So for addicts, if you've got an ego, you're fucked. And one of the things they always say is you've got to get rid of your ego. It's got to be shattered. And I feel like that moment she said that shattered my ego there and then.
She saw right through you.
Yeah, and it was just roaring. It was fucking honest as well. Other people might have said something similar, but I just took it as a pinch of salt because they were always going on at me, stop fucking snorting. Whereas she just said it and it was just like, bam, that's it. That was the beginning for me then.
And was that, I guess then, is that the hardest, or does it get harder after that point, or what?
Nah, I think some people will go on and say it's recovery's really hard. I don't think it was. That was a tough one to deal with, that there and then getting told like you're a fucking disgrace. But then afterwards, I was straight back into, I don't know if you've ever seen like AA meetings on the telly where you're all sat in a circle. Yeah, it's the same for CA, Cocaine Anonymous. Sit in a circle. First thing you've got to do is open up and say, my name's John, I'm an addict. That's the hardest part, just to say I'm an addict and admit it to everybody in there. And then after that, like I've done the 12-step program and everything. And I've dealt with like some of the worst things in my life since, but never once had to turn to ale or drugs again since then. It's if anything, it's fucking rewarding. It's nice, like part of the 12 steps, you have to make amends to people who you've caused harm to and stuff like that. Reaching out to these people and saying like, listen, I'm sorry for what I've done to you.
But not only saying sorry, is it like it's what you're sorry for as well? Yeah,
and you've got to mean it as well. And some of the people might turn around and say, I'm not arsed, you're a dickhead, I don't ever want to see it again. You take it on the chin and that's it. But those who are willing to accept your apology, then I'm at that point willing to do anything for the rest of my life if it needed to be. Make amends for what I've done to them. And that's what like my wife there, she had to deal with more than anybody else ever had to. And that's like my life now, is just make up for what I've done to her and my daughter. For that, that's like my life goal now.
Yeah.
But it was like there was some things in there, like I had to make an amends to the police.
Oh, wow.
That was fucking nuts.
Put your ego in check to do that, yeah.
Put your ego, and then risk going down for it as well.
But why?
So I'd had a fight with the police like years before. Me and my brother were fighting with the police on Slater Street. And I had one of the busy's arms and I've slammed him in the door. And he's got his arm and slammed it in the car door. So obviously he's jumped out with his mate, started filling me in. And then I just got twatted everywhere. But my brother got done for this. So my brother ran over thinking that I had all lemon in my pocket and volleyed one of the busies so that he'd get nicked instead of me. We both got nicked and he had it in his pocket. So that didn't go down well. So we had to go to court over that. And I was just like, I couldn't remember what I'd done, but I was still an addict, so I'd still happily lie. Like I could lie to anyone at that point.
Yeah.
And I said in court, I was like, nah, I'm not guilty. Not guilty of anything. My brother stood up and went, yeah, I'm guilty. And he got a fucking £300 fine for possession. But I was like, no, I'm not having this. So I stayed in court for 12 months, back and forth over this, fighting with the police. And something happened to the busy in the end, and he couldn't attend the final hearing. And the judge just went, listen, he's missed 2 or 3 appearances now. You're free to go. You're done. And I got offered it. And I was like, yes. Obviously went out and partied even more then. But for years, it stuck in my head, like, what I possibly put him through for that 12 months.
Yeah.
Or like his family, imagine he's got a kid, you got to go to court today, Dad, or like for something that I'd done, and I'd caused it all from the beginning to the end. So one of the things we'd have to make amends is like you reach out and apologise. So what I'd done was, when I was working on the doors in town, they have like the licensing police coming around, and I spoke to one of them and I was like, listen, I need to admit to something that I've done. And you could just see the faces like, fucking hell, are you messing? So I told him the story and he was just like, whoa, okay. He was like, obviously we can't put you face-to-face contact with the police officer who it was. I knew his name and everything. So I said, I was about to write a letter. So I wrote a letter, admitted to everything that I'd done on it. A few weeks later, they come back and they were like, he's all right with that, sounds. So... But there was still a chance that I just admitted to volleying a busy.
And you put it on pen to paper as well.
I signed it. But they were all right with it. And that for me was like one of the most rewarding sides of it. Like getting to make them amends.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's the day when I admitted I was an addict and then going through all that, it was hard, but what you get at the end of it was much better.
So how have you managed to turn those dark days and being in a bad place into such positivity then with your own artwork and stuff?
Well, I had to have like an operation on my nose because of it, because of the drugs. And while I was housebound for a few months, my wife's dad just said, yeah, do you want to get some canvases and some paints? And I'd never actually painted on canvas at that point. It used to just be like paper in school or drawings in the house or whatever. So I started painting while I was stuck in the house for 4 weeks, and I put one on Facebook, and somebody was like, I'll buy that off you. I was like, fuck off, listen. She was like, yeah. I said, how much? And she said, 30 quid. And I was like, so the business head clicked then. I was like, 30 quid for that? Oh, yeah. So if I do 10 M a week, 300 quid. Business head's still not too great. That's why she's my manager now. So then I was like, whoa, that's mad, that. And so that's where I started from again then. So I was 27 then.
Okay.
Stopped drinking, stopped sorting. Started painting Disney again. So I went back to my original roots when I was like 6, 7, and I just started doing a couple of Disney things.
Who was your favourite Disney character?
Winnie the Pooh.
Who said again?
Winnie the Pooh.
Really? Yeah,
definitely.
Didn't expect that.
I didn't expect that. I was thinking more like Aladdin or the light, but maybe you was a bit older at that point then. Because we're 90s babies.
I could relate to Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
He's the honey pot, I'm in the biscuit jar or whatever, and
he's
I exercise very similar to him as well, doing me stretches and touching me toes and all that.
Who was your favourite Disney character growing up? Was you?
This is where the ages are going to come out here, isn't it?
Yeah, because I say we're 90s, so my Toy Story.
I remember going to see
Toy Story.
Toy Story's the one.
How fucking old are you?
Well, Toy Story's a little bit later, but I still liked it. Woody and Buzz and them, they were sick back in the day.
It would have actually been one of them, yeah.
Yeah, or Mufasa, to be fair, Simba. As I say, that was probably my first one, The Lion King and Aladdin.
I hope we're on the cartoon version now, not the new digital one.
Definitely the cartoon ones. But yeah, no, you were saying, so the Disney was where you
yeah, so that's where I started. But it kind of like, it was getting a little bit too repetitive for me. It was like, I could churn out a Disney painting after Disney painting, but it was not my work either. Okay. I was literally just copying another image.
Yeah.
Disney have got any problems with that, fucking deal with it. Copyright and all that. I've had issues with copyright recently, that's all. So I was doing that, and then I think so it was then afterwards, like one of my mates who I worked on the doors with, he was always on at me to get in touch with somebody from Liverpool, one of his mates who is a full-time artist and he makes his living being an artist, and he was like, his name's Danny O'Connor, he was like, get onto him and see what his work's like, see if he can give you any touches or whatever, and how to go further with all this. So my mate had passed away not long after that, and I thought, one of the things I need to do here is, he said to me, just go and speak to him. So I fired a message over to this other artist, and he was like, come round to my studio. I was like, shut up. So I went anyway, went round, spent the day painting with him. After that, it just gave me like a whole new lease of life with the art. It was like, he kind of taught me like not to be scared of what I was painting. Yeah. Because at one point, he was like, go on, have a little go on that. And I was like, mate, I'm not touching your painting. Like, what happens if I ruin it? He went, well, we just work with it. And I was like, what? And he just put a big dollop of paint through the painting. And I was like, oh, you fucked it now. And he was like, no, watch. So then he started working the paint in, and he was just like, there was just no fear when he painted, where I'm like terrified of doing something wrong. Yeah. So then after that day, then I went back and I tried a whole new way of painting. I'd be a lot more explosive. I'd be a lot faster. I wouldn't be sitting there scared, and I'd kind of make a mistake on purpose to try and see how I could work that into my artwork again. Sorry.
So what would you say your style was then in that respect?
Now.
Well, then, as it changed, is it?
Yeah, massive. Can I just have my drink a minute?
Yeah, absolutely, of course.
It's changed dramatically from when I very first started. It's amazing.
So then moving into what I was going to ask you as well then. So in that respect, would you then allow yourself to be a live nude sample or subject?
Yeah. Done it.
Have you? Have you?
We've got a little bit of a funny story on this. If I can touch on this. So we got approached by, where was she from? Was she Turkish, was she? So Turkish photographer.
Yeah.
So she was going to be involved in an art exhibition in Nice, was it? Nice, yeah. I think it was all to do with, male nudity, because apparently in Turkey, women aren't allowed to see men nude.
It's a Muslim country, so yeah,
something like that. Yeah. So anyway, she was like, would you let me take photographs of you, Bolloco? And I'm like, oh, well, I'm a grower, not a shower. Is it going to be right out? And she was like, no, so they won't see your penis. And I'm like, go ahead, I'm in then. But she wanted my artwork to be in the background and stuff. I don't know if I should be saying this, but fuck it, I'm just going to go for it. Tell your dad not to listen to this one. So we're in there anyway, and I thought, I just need to get it all out, don't I? Just go for it, get bollock, see how comfortable I am. So I did, and I looked like I had just like a little nubbin of a cock. It was just non-existent, and I was just like, oh, this is heartbreaking, this. So every time she turned her back, I'd like give it a little wiggle. I just wanted to add a little bit of weight to it, just so it didn't look too bad. And then, so that I'm giving it a little wiggle. But your penis doesn't know when it's just a little wiggle, does it?
No.
So then this woman, she's bent over in front of me, fixing something, and like a little lace tongue pops out, and I'm like, oh my God. And then she walks past me with this, what was like a scarf, and the scarf just brushed me. So the wiggle turned to quite up, and I'm just like, oh, it was not semi anymore, and I thought, oh, I've crossed the line now. She's seen me, her husband was there, he's seen it. So I just cracked on then. I think at one minute I tried to windmill for the laugh, didn't I, as well? So, but I enjoyed it though, still. It was good.
What about you? God. Would you do something like that?
I've got no funny story for it, but like, yeah, I think I'd do that. I'd have no problem.
Yeah, do you think you could draw somebody then at the same time if they was...
I think I'd be better being the subject.
Oh, would you know? Yeah.
Look at him.
I'd prefer to be the subject, yeah.
You'd be comfortable. Well, you...
Just sit there with a bowl of grapes and let someone paint me. Yeah, I could do that.
You could do that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't like get someone in who does it and like, you know,
we'll find someone. We'll find someone. Do it for charity or something.
I'm sure I'd do that, no problem.
Yeah. So how have you found then, like everybody at the minute, I think everyone's in the same boat, how have you found the past 12 months and trying to draw new inspirations for the artwork and stuff like that? In lockdown, has it been difficult, or have you found more time to just focus on certain things?
I've definitely had more time to paint, and I have produced some, sounds they're big-headed, but some of the best work I've ever done, I've probably done in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
Because it's little things like, obviously, kids aren't in school, so, you know, for me, if I get up and I take my daughter to school, then I'll come home for 9:30. I'm not going to be ready to start painting until 10:30. And then I have to finish at 2 to be able to get to the school to pick her up. So I only had like a small gap in between where I could paint, whereas with all this lockdown, I'm kind of unlimited. Like I can paint for 12 hours if I want to, or I can just go in and just do a couple of hours.
Has your daughter picked up your skills in that respect?
Boss.
Yeah.
She's really good. Like she's freakishly good on some things, like because I only use acrylic paint or spray paint sometimes. But I don't use spray paint as in like graffiti art. I just use it just to stick in the painting somewhere. But when she does like blending, or like from one colour to another, like if a lot of kids would just she can blend, so it just goes seamlessly from like red to orange to yellow, and it just looks good. She's really clever with stuff like that. But she's drifted a little bit at the minute from the art world. Like she used to be heavily involved in my work. She'd always want to do like, I used to let her come in and just add like little bits to the painting or whatever, because then I knew that was getting sold, and she's been a part of that painting.
Boss.
She's 10 now. She's not that arsed about what I do. As long as when a painting sells, she can get a new pair of trainees or something, then she's happy.
Laughing.
But yeah, she's really talented. She's very creative as well.
Have you found turning it into a business then as well? Like, does it come naturally if people always just wanted, or have you had to kind of, I know my worth, this is my worth, so...
I didn't. I'll be honest, I don't think I knew me worth, and I've got a few good mates around me who've always tried to drill it into me and say, like, you need to know what your worth is, because, like, so I went from selling a painting for 30 quid to now they're going for like 15.95.
Wow.
So I'll sell a print like this would be...
So I think now's a good time. Show us what you bought.
So these, like, a print would be like 95 quid. So, hang on, I just don't want to put that. So this is what started off my trainee collection now because of doing this. So this is what we've gifted to use.
Oh, thank you.
So I didn't understand like the full background on the Jordans, and these were bands, weren't they, at one point?
Marcel,
I think it was.
Give us what are
What's that?
What are they? Give us a little insight.
Is it a pair of Jordan 1s?
Yeah, so he was banned from wearing them, wearing at the NBA at one point. So that's where I started. Like, started painting stuff like trainees, and that's my trainee obsession has become ridiculous now. Get these on the camera.
What are you rocking today?
I only got these the other day, right? But I'm just obsessed with buying Jordans. Anything Nike, to be honest now.
Yeah. Well, you're talking to, go on, the main man.
I nearly ruined JJ though. So Jen, the wife there, she's been looking after stuff in our family. There's a lot of stuff that was going on and she took over everything for us, right? She made everybody's life so much easier. So I thought, right, as a little present, I'll buy her. She wanted these trainees that she's got on there, which I would never ever dream of paying for. Like a pair of Stella McCartney trabs. But I thought, you know what? She's done boss, like what she's done for the family, so I'll treat it to them. But the same day, I ordered these as well. So anyway, the delivery came and I was like, Jen, here's your present, love, I bought you this. She's opening it and a pair of Jordans popped out. She was like, oh, I don't wait. I was like, oh, fucking hell. So hers didn't come till the next day. But yeah, I've lost where I was up to then.
No, big shoe collection, big fan of the shoes.
Yes, ridiculous. It's got out of hand now.
How many pairs are we talking?
I'd say in the last few weeks I've bought 4. Easy, haven't I?
20.
What? There's at least 20 pairs in the wardrobe. I think 6 pairs of Jordans. I bought a custom pair as well, didn't I? Which, what are they? Just high tops, aren't they? Just with, on the back one says JC and the other one says Art. I've only worn them once.
Did you go to town a lot?
Nah.
No. All right. Well,
I don't go out.
No more, no. Nothing like that.
Never.
So how then, if you say your actual artwork and not the print is going for like £1,500, like how did you get to that valuation? How did you get to that point?
I think, so I don't even know where this came from, to be honest. I think I might have just literally plucked out a figure. So a lot of my paintings are around about the same size, like 36 by 36 inches, so they're a good big square. And originally I was doing a lot of comic stuff like Stormtroopers and The Joker and all stuff like that. And when we were going to like Comic-Con events, we were selling them for about 150 quid at the time.
Okay.
And I think we were selling prints for about 20. And then I think it was just as I was progressing, like my work just started visibly getting better and better and better. I genuinely haven't got a... Can you even help me out with here where we started with the prices?
Research, like other artists.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
That'll be where she comes in with stuff.
Okay.
Jen's like...
So it's like a team
Yeah,
in
she's my manager now.
Yeah.
Because I am awful as a businessman. Like, I'd come up to your house with a painting. It might be a £1,500 painting and you might be paying in cash. I'll give you that painting. And if you don't give me the money, I'll just walk away and be like, see you soon, mate. Because I just hate asking for money. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I feel so awkward when it comes to like that type of thing. Like, everybody will be ordering paintings now, won't they, to pay cash on the door.
Barter than that.
But yeah, I suppose a lot of research that we've done, and again, Danny O'Connor, who's a good mate of mine now, I ask him tons and tons of questions about art and prices and all this stuff. So all my paintings now as well, every painting I do is hand stretched. So, you know, if you go into an art shop and the canvases are ready made, I buy like a canvas roll, I'll cut the canvas, then I'll buy the buy the stretcher bars, I'll put the stretcher bars together, stretch it all up. So everything's like start to finish, it's my work. So there's a lot more love that goes into it now. Like, we understand, like, everything will have a certificate with it. So there's a certificate with this, which is number 16 out of 50. So our prints, we have limited edition prints. So there's only 50 of them about with the paintings as well. We put a little certificate on the back of our paintings and stuff. But yeah, I think I got involved in a few do you know what? I know where one of the jumps was. I got involved with a gallery at one point, and they kind of said, we won't sell your prints unless they're over £55. So I do remember that one. At that point, we were like, well, if you can sell it, then put it to 55 then.
Yeah.
So we did that. And then when you go to these galleries and you see people's paintings and you're like, look at that, that's pricey, that. And I started to realise, well, I wouldn't say mine's better, because I think everybody's art it's subjective, isn't it?
Yeah.
Some things people might think that's fucking awful, others might love it. But then I was seeing prices of other people's works and I thought, well, mine deserves to be in that category. And we've just gone from there. And then in lockdown, I was involved with a gallery down south called the Maddox Gallery. and I sold, it was a pair of Adidas ROMs, the black trainee, but where it says ROM on the side, I changed it to NHS.
Oh, okay.
And we donated that to them to sell for charity. And I think that they sold that for £2,500, I think it was. So at that point, I'm like, well, people are willing to pay that. My prices can come up a little bit further as well.
And justify it then.
Yeah.
That's sick. Well, I was going to ask you then as well, some of the artists that you like, I don't even know, I wouldn't even say Cause, they're not...
Cause is an artist.
He's an artist,
yeah, worldwide considered an artist.
So you aware of Cause? No.
I'm not, people ask me this, right, and I look like an arsehole, but I'm not. I tend to not look at a lot of current artists' work.
Okay.
Because I just don't want to get swayed. So I always hark back to Danny O'Connor, but there was a phase where I'd look at Danny's work, and the next painting I'd done, you'd see these these triangular lines with spray paint in there, and I'm like, that's boss that, and then I'm like, that's actually, Danny puts that in his. Yeah. So you can so easily be influenced by other artists, too easily. So for a long time, I wouldn't follow any Instagram artists.
Really, no?
Because I just knew that it'd end up in my work somewhere. So I follow a lot of Van Gogh pages and Picasso and Jackson Pollock pages, all that. I think they would influence everybody. Yeah. But for a contemporary artist, I needed to find my own style before I could start looking at other artists. Now I think with the work that I do, most people straight away say, that's a John Charles. We've had people mates go to other mates' houses and they walk in and go, and this is one of my mates said it the other day, someone came into his and went, oh, you've got a John Charles? And I was like,
got a hard on straight away with that one. So you want a Banksy, you obviously want a Banksy there, do you like art that has a statement or doesn't have a statement, or
but I love, Banksy's very political, isn't he, with all of his stuff. I like there to be something behind it, but at the same time, I like abstract art. I could walk in and it might just be a circle with a square, and I'll be like, I like that. But I hate it when people start going, oh, you can see the passion in this brush stroke.
I hate
you
that.
Can't.
That's
That's bullshit. It does me head in. That's
overcomplicated.
Yeah, fuck off. We had it when I had a solo exhibition, 2019, wasn't it? It was my first exhibition, a solo exhibition. That was one of the biggest dreams I ever had. And I just said to everybody, listen, you don't have to turn up all suited and booted. Yeah. So half my mates in the gym turned up with the hoodies on, the shorts, the sandals and flip-flops and sliders. I think I had a t-shirt and shorts on, didn't I, with my sliders? It's that's...
You do a lot of art topless as well, don't you?
Yeah. Gets me loads of likes, that.
See, this is where you and him can relate, definitely.
Someone hammered me for that a while back on Twitter, some lad giving me loads of abuse saying, you're fucking worse than Katie Price, you be down Bramley Docks getting up the arse soon, you lad. And I was like, do you know what? Honestly, I've never ever done it thinking I'm fit, me, because I'm probably one of the most body conscious people you'll meet. I hate my body. From a side on them pictures, I look all right though, so I don't mind it. But I don't paint with a t-shirt on. Yeah. I'll go in, I'll have my pants on, and that's it. So I don't see the point in me sticking a top on to take a photograph, because that's not me. That's not how I work. I just like to paint without my top on. No, and it's not because I think I'm fit, because I've got little tits and everything now. I think I seen somebody with Dorito tits the other day. That's me. That's what lockdown's done to me.
How have you found you training over the last couple of months then? Because I know that's been something that me and you talk about quite often, Marcel.
Having to adapt and overcome.
You look like you've done a lot of press-ups in lockdown, you.
We'll go with that, yeah. Been using me hour a day.
Productively.
Yeah.
I couldn't. The first lockdown, the first one at the beginning, I was lucky enough for one of my mates to lend me a bar so I could deadlift in the back garden. Okay. I could do squats. I had a log so I could do log press and stuff like that. But that only lasted so long for me. I think about a month, and a month and a half in, and I was like,
it's shit.
I'm done here. I can't carry this on. It was just collecting dust in the house then. And then, it's I got in fucking boss shape as well. Before that lockdown, I was in good shape, weren't I? And then, I just lost it. And now, more than ever, I just feel like I'm done. I texted my coach tonight and said, listen, I'm finished for now. I'm not training again. I've got 2 24 kilo kettlebells in my house at the minute. I don't know what, like, bodybuilding wise, I don't really do like bodybuilding training. I like to just do deadlift, squats and log press, like strongman stuff, but I've come away from the strongman side of things because I just wasn't strong enough. Like, I thought I would say I was strong for an average lad.
Yeah.
But when you start mixing it with people who proper do the strongman, I was fucking up.
It's a different, is it? I assume it's
there's levels to that.
Yeah, I mean, some of them, like, I'm lucky enough, I've trained with like some, like Graham Mix and Lauren Charlotte, like 2 massive in the strongman world. I've got to train with people like that. When you train with them, that sounds, but then when you're going back to other gyms and still people are just fucking wiping the forwards, I was like, I lost the love for it. Okay. But I just enjoy training now, just for training's sake, and I love it.
For yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, but then I couldn't justify picking up 2 24 kilo kettlebells, where if I went into the gym and I'm on a log press, my warm-up weight would be 85. So I don't see what's the point of me picking up fucking 48 kilos over my head. It just didn't do nothing for it. I couldn't enjoy it. And I know, like, if I repped and I'd get something out of it, but there was just no fun in it, no love for me whatsoever. So I've resigned to the fact that I'm just going to be fat for a bit. And I'll embrace the chub. Midnight deliveries getting abused like 3 or 4 nights a week. They're happy. And then I know once this lockdown stuff ends again and I'll get back in.
Any tips for when he gets back, Marcel? What would be a good starting block?
I suppose the common sense one. Not that I need to be patronising and tell you to walk before you can run.
Yeah.
Do you know how many kids after the first lockdown, we own a gym, how many kids come back into that gym and just being in there all the time, I can sort of take a step back and observe what's going on.
Yeah.
And I see the number of people who'd come in thinking, well, before lockdown 6 months ago, I was bench pressing this weight. And they come back in and try and do the same. And straight away, folded underneath. And I couldn't believe how often it was happening.
Yeah.
But obviously, like, with that then comes the risk of injury and so on and so on. So many people were like, thinking it's only a few weeks and not realising it's been a long time off. You ain't going to be doing what you were doing beforehand.
Yeah.
But it does come back.
I think before that lockdown so I was getting like, I think I was quite fucking strong. I was 19 and a half stone then. But I wasn't like a dead healthy 19 and a half stone. I had like a little bit of side sit and that. But I could deal with that because I was strong as fuck, so it was all right. But like my overhead log press was 140 kilos and it was flying with it. That was a good log press. Lockdown came. I went back in the gym and oh my God, I tried to press 110 overhead, nearly killed myself. It was just... I know you can't just go back in there.
Yeah, it takes a bit of getting used to, doesn't it?
But then I started, so I literally can't remember how many fucking lockdowns there's been now. But the one before this, I managed to train solid for 5 weeks and my strength started coming right back up. So I think I was getting up to like, I think I'd got up to like 120 on my log press again. I just thought, this is fucking great, this is coming back. My squat was taking forever. I'd managed to get back up to 180. That was all I could get to in that 5 weeks. But there was no injuries. I was feeling really, really good. My deadlift was flying back up and everything. And then that fat swat just took it all away from me again.
Well, talking of politicians, we noticed some recent news dropping that one of the, obviously the close cabinet to Boris Johnson.
Can I say his name?
Yeah.
Matt Hancock.
Matt Hancock, yeah. It's recently been announced that obviously he's been unlawfully given backhanders to his cronies for the PPE.
Yeah. That's just the
beginning,
that as well, though, isn't it?
So I just wanted to pick your brains because I've seen that you've been quite vocal on that on your own Instas.
Yeah.
Is that just a personal thing? Do you not like him, or do you just think from the ethical side of things, it's just
so what? There's no one person in the world that I just don't like. I don't think I've ever met somebody who I just don't like them.
Yeah.
Like, I might take time to really get to be mates with them or whatever. I'm not like, I don't hate very many people. I don't think there's anyone I hate.
Yeah.
But I hate him. I just like, and after today's announcements, I'm seeing people on Facebook and Instagram buzzing, or like, oh, made up with Boris saying it. I'm like, fucking messing. You've had your pants down for over 12 months now. Like, I've watched people's businesses crumble. I know of people who've committed suicide because they've lost the business in all of this as well. Things like that. And then you see that smarmy little bastard sitting there have you seen any of his interviews? He can't help but smirk. And even when he cried, he looked like he was made up.
Matt Hancock?
Yeah. Prick. Honestly, but I try to not let, like, I'm not very good with politics.
Okay.
I'll be honest. I'm shit at arguing. I get to a point where I'm arguing where if I'm losing, I'm just probably going to have to slap you instead. It's the easiest way out because I know I'm going to lose. I'm off then. But no, I'm not very, what's the word? This is perfect now. Articulate with my words, yeah. I probably swear more, but when you see like blatant facts coming out and the billions that he's given out and nobody's battered an eyelid over it. And that's why I said something today, like, nobody's sharing a post I put up about the breakdown of how he'd used this money with his mates and stuff. Nobody shares that. But someone will share a fucking missing cat in Cornwall for Karen or whatever.
When you live in Wigan.
And they all
shared Liverpool.
It's
300 miles away.
Like that. But they won't share what, like, the government's how they're just ruining people.
What's your take on well, I know you take on a lot of things, but in that specifically, what's your take on it?
When you said straight away at the start, he's unlawfully, so straight away, he's done something unlawful. Now, any one of us does something unlawful, you have the police knocking at your door or you got a case on your hands. So why can this bellend in the public eye in front of everybody? It's not like it's a little thing either. No. The scale that this is on, like the term daylight robbery, and it's like, oh no, it's fine, we'll let him walk. And another will do it next week, but you won't hear of that, and it goes on.
Well, that's what I think has been the hardest thing from the lockdown situation. It's been the one consistent has been one rule for them and another rule for us.
Yeah.
So when the other one was it Cummings or whatever his name was taking,
drove however many hundred miles,
was testing his eyesight, and then they've all done little things, and you just think, but the general public are getting stopped and pulled over. There was a woman who went 12 miles to Crosby Beach or Southport Beach the other day with the dog. She got nicked, and it's just little things like that you just think it's unfair standards that you choose to hold, and then you expect us to live by the ones that you're rolling out to us.
It's stuff like that pisses me off, and that's like that very first lockdown. Like, I respected every decision, everything that was put out there. I abided by it, and then I'm getting to the point where I'm not seeing me mum and dad, and I'm not seeing me mates, and I'm watching businesses starting to crumble. But then these keep making all these mad fuck ups. They're continuously messing everything up, and then when I see all the money side of things that's getting blown, like the PPE, 90 billion or something ridiculous.
So people who had no prior experience dealing with it.
Like, imagine someone just saying to you, like, right, Marcel, we're going to give you, like, 150 grand, 250 grand to start a football coaching summer camp. Like,
if anyone wants to.
But you know what I mean? It's just like, where in normal world would that kind of happen, given the fact you've got no experience to it, and the fact that he's been able to do that so blatantly in his position.
And he just he smirks when he says it. It's like, it's everything else that they balls up on, like whether or not you believe there's a virus or there isn't a virus, whether you believe it's a hoax or it's not a hoax, right? I don't even think it comes into it. It's the way they've handled it is just shocking from the beginning. Like, every other country was stopping people from coming in. They just let it carry on. One of our mates works in the airport. He was saying to us, what the fuck? He said, I can't do nothing. He said, people just coming in and out.
Well, it's a money-making scam now as well, isn't it? The other end, they've got people coming back from places and they're charging them, 1,700 quid to then stay in it.
Stay at a basic-ass hotel.
But then you've got, like, people who, like, we've recently lost somebody in our family. This is where it's really fucked. It hit me hard, this, like, because I was lucky enough to spend the last 10 hours with my auntie, just sat side by side with her. I had to FaceTime all my family so they could say goodbye to her. And I'm like, and all them little smarmy twats are sitting there with all this money coming in, bent as fuck. But then all of us little people are having to sit and go through all this. Like, you go to a funeral, you're only allowed 25 people at your funeral. It's that starts getting to me when I see what the politicians are getting away with. So it's...
Do you know what it's literally like? It's like you've only got to look at them. It's like all the biggest victims, the kids that that got terrored in school, and you're looking at them now and they've all got together and they're like, we've got a bit of pan. They're just fucking with people's lives. That's what it's like. Like, we'll have the last laugh to the gang of dickheads.
They've been waiting for that moment.
Serious.
Literally,
it's
you've been waiting
bizarre
for
what's
it.
going on. But
We are hopefully starting to see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Do you have any kind of plans for yourself for the rest of the year? What kind of, either just work related or just life related, or are you looking forward to just
work related? We've got some belter plans coming up now. So I had 2 exhibitions have been cancelled this year now. I had a solo exhibition in St Helens World of Glass, which was going on. That was going to be massive. That got cancelled. I had another exhibition which was with somewhere in the Albert Dock. That's been cancelled. Hopefully it can be rearranged, but I'm not too sure. But what we've done now is, so we're working on a collection at the minute called Looking for Love, right? It's not what you think. It's not all dead lovey. In each one of the portraits, there's going to be these small love arts in there, just like a little hidden away. So one of them is Jimi Hendrix is in there, and there's just a couple of little, and the colour scheme that I've gone with is like orange, purples and blues. They just look boss. So we've got, that collection is nearly finished now. That's going to have to be a virtual exhibition.
Okay.
So we'll have it online. People can come, where you click on it, you like on Google Maps, you get to walk around the gallery and look at the work. You click on it and it'll fill your screen, so you get to look at it properly and all that. So we've got that coming up hopefully in early April. And then after that, we've got an actual physical exhibition. We've spoke with a venue smack bang in the middle of Liverpool. So one of my ambitions for this year was to get my solo exhibition in Liverpool city centre somewhere, and we've got that now. We've spoken to a venue and they're flying with it. They absolutely love the idea. There's a lot of things we've got to look at, like all the red tape and stuff, because I don't want people having to turn up wearing masks. I just think
the risk assessments, they're going to have something in place, aren't they?
But I respect people's decisions. If that's what has to happen in certain places, I respect that. But hopefully within June, July, August time, we'll have an actual physical exhibition where people can come and see the paintings, because one thing I don't think art should be seen just on a screen. It needs to be seen in the flesh. Everybody who buys a painting of mine, they buy it literally off seeing it on a computer or Instagram or whatever. And that's a lot of money to spend off a picture, or just off a photograph. And then when they see it in the flesh, they're like, whoa. And they absolutely love it. And people's reactions when they see it in the flesh is brilliant. Because like we've brought 2 along to show you, because I don't paint with a brush really, it's with a palette knife. So I'll paint first with the brush to block things in, and then I go at it with a palette knife, then like a little trowel that a builder would use. It's about that big, and I use that to stick the paint on all over, so it's nice and chunky and it's thick and textured and everything. So so we've got one virtual exhibition in April, physical exhibition hopefully in June, July, August. I imagine a lot of places are just going to be getting back on the feet in June, aren't they? So the last thing they're going to have to deal with is a little artist like me, like, oh, I want my picture on that wall. But it might even be an outdoor event as well. The place that we're speaking to, I've got the option for it to be outdoors, which is quite cool.
That'd be good.
So, and they've got like a plan B, so if that day it was windy or whatever, they move it straight indoors.
Oh, fantastic.
The first exhibition we had, over 250 people turned up to it. So we know we can get a belt of crowds together for it. That's why I don't want to just have a little exhibition where I have to filter like 10 people in every hour or something. I want shitloads of people turning up for it.
Well, they definitely will for the work that you've been putting in, man. It is like, I've been following the page for a while. I just think, wow, that's sick. Because one thing I've never been good at is art. I can't draw a stick man to save me life. Like, I am notoriously bad at anything to do with drawing, but always loved the visual aspect of when someone can actually just turn it from, even if it is just like a picture of a model, and then pretty much just replicate it like for like. I just think it's absolutely amazing. So
that's what I try to do now, is like, I don't do like like realism. So I never want a painting to be like a photograph, because I think if you want it to be that, go and buy a photograph.
Phones nowadays. So
I will change it up. Like, I won't change the features. I'll keep so you need to know who it is. But my style, I think, is quite. I think it's on its own at the minute. I don't think I've not seen another artist who's painted like me now. That sounds a bit big-headed.
No, but
I just mean it stands out. Like I said before, a lot of people look at it and go, "Do you know that's my work?"
That's sick. Well, I think if you ever need any models for any nudes, we've got Marcel's available there.
Likewise.
I'll be more appropriate, as a model.
Yeah, no, but keep us posted on your exhibitions in the coming months and let us know, because definitely like to get down. I do like going to the art galleries from time to time. I went to the Banksy one. Yeah, I went to the Banksy one in Amsterdam, and he had the exhibition over there. Yeah, a couple of years back. It was sick, and there was a bit of core stuff in there for you as well. I know I sent you that on the photos on the WhatsApp when I was there. So yeah, but thank you very much for coming down. Thanks you again for sitting in with them and keeping them in check as well. No, I was really appreciate you coming in. So thank you again. Us at the group chat, nice one for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll be back again.